Research organization has identified after constructing the Kandy Mahiyangana road about 20 locations prone to landslides. So this is one of the locations we have identified.
Well, that was the senior geologist of the landslide monitoring unit of the DMC, Dr. Gamini Jatisa, speaking to us about the landslide prone areas along the Mahiyangana Kandy road. We have a comprehensive report coming up later on in the bulletin. A very good afternoon to all our viewers. I'm Joel Outskun. First, let's take a look at what's making headlines this afternoon. Kandy Mahiyangana main road still under threat of landslides. Steps taken to break down the bank of the Kumichankulama tank. At least 7 have been killed in an attack on Afghanistan court. Let's now take a look at these stories in detail. The Met Department states that atmospheric conditions are getting favorable for more showers over the island, particularly over the eastern parts of the country during the next few days. Duty meteorologist at the Met Department says thunder showers will develop at several places in the island during the afternoon or evening, and showers will also spread to the western province. Meanwhile, the NBRO states that 5 main roads in the Badulla district are at a risk of landslides and earth slips.
Senior geologist of the landslide monitoring unit of the DMC, Dr. Gamini Jatisa, stated that commuters should use alternative routes unless there is a dire need to travel on landslide-prone roads. Gamini Jatisa further stated that the risk of landslides along the Mahiyangana Kandy main road is still prevailing. The police stated that vehicular movement in the Ududumbara area along the Mahiyangana Kandy main road is still at a standstill owing to landslides and rock slides. The police request the public to use alternative routes. Meanwhile, the District Secretary of Nuwara, DPG Kumarasiri, notes that heavy mist was reported along all main roads in the area. He notes that the general public should be vigilant while using these roads. Taking into consideration the inclement weather conditions, landslide warnings were issued to the Badulla and Nuwara districts. The warning issued by the National Building and Research Organization at 5:30 last evening will be in effect. Meanwhile, there is choking traffic in several roads in the Badulla district due to the heavy showers that were reported in the area. Our correspondent stated that transportation has been hindered in the Spring Valley Road in Badulla due to the threats of landslides. The Disaster Management Center advises the public to take adequate precautions when using this route. Our correspondent stated that the Kudulu Oya in Badulla has begun to overflow due to the heavy showers. Due to this reason, 3 bridges along the area have been inundated, causing inconveniences to the public. The Hambavala Bridge crossing the Kudulu Oya and the Deyangivilla temporary bridge have been inundated. Meanwhile, a correspondent stated that clean-up operations commenced this morning along the Hatton-Bhagavantalava main road that was hampered due to a landslide, and that vehicular movement have commenced along one lane.
Well, as mentioned earlier on the bulletin, Newsfirst spoke to the senior geologist of the landslide monitoring unit of the DMC, Dr. Gamini Jatisa, on the precautionary steps that need to be taken by the general public owing to landslides.
National Building Research Organization has identified after constructing the Kandy Mahiyangana road. So we have identified about 20 locations prone to landslides. So this is one of the locations we have identified. So there are some other locations. So what we can say for the people is that especially during rainy periods, heavy rainy periods, that minimize the number of travelings along these kind of roads. If it is not essential, just avoid the night travelling. So in 2011, the Ministry of Disaster Management issued a circular and mentioning that all kind of construction and development activities should follow NBRO guidelines and recommendations. So under this we have established 10 district officers in all landslide prone districts, so people can come and meet the officers there and get the advice. We strongly recommend people to come and show us the lands, and so our officers will visit, so they will recommend whether this is good or not. And then when you go to construct a house, and you have to select the most suitable place in a land, because in hilly areas sometimes you may have 1 acre, 2 acres, 3 acres land, so you can select the best suitable place. So the people do not know. So if they come to us, so we can recommend all these kind of low cost measures. So if people follow it, that maybe 80%, 90% of incidents can be.
Well, still in local news, a police constable has been injured after being accidentally shot by a sub-inspector of the Nellore police.
Police say the incident broke out when the constable and sub-inspector had pulled a three-wheeler driver over for violating road rules. A scuffle had reportedly then broken out between the sub-inspector and three-wheeler driver, during which his firearm had discharged, injuring the police constable. The incident took place near the Nellore police. The constable was admitted to the Karapitia hospital. The Nellore police are conducting further investigations into the incident.
Well, now 2 more individuals have been taken into custody in connection with the assault on the Sabaragamu University students. The police media unit says that the arrests were made by the Samanalava police based on a complaint filed by the university students on the 23rd of this month. Police said the suspects are employees of the university. The 5 suspects were previously taken into custody in connection with the incident. Police added that all 7 suspects will be produced before courts today. Well, coming up later on the news, engineers in the US are developing a new concept vehicle that can take off like a helicopter, fly like an airplane, and drive like a car. Still in local news this afternoon, steps were taken today to renovate a bank of the Kumichankulama tank in Anuradhapura. The mayor, who had arrived at the location this morning, have decided to break the bank of the river and instructed it to be completely taken off. Our correspondent noted that although sandbags were used to temporarily stop the flow of water, the attempts were unsuccessful. Well, many views were expressed at a number of press conferences on the 2015 budget that was presented in Parliament last week. Take a look.
For the budget, a government servant has received a salary increment of 982 rupees, while an employee of the private sector has received only 375 rupees. People involved in politics must now ask the president to introduce a mathematics class. The Mahinda Chintanaya clearly states that when the country is developing, the benefits of the development must be enjoyed by all citizens of the country equally. How many handphones are there? Handphones number to 1.5 times the country's population. We have now become a middle-income country. I feel that all this is a result of becoming a middle-income country.
ඒ මැද ආදායම් ලබන රටක ආර්ථිකය විසින් දුන්න දේ හැටියට මම මේක හඳුන්වන්න කැමතියි.
සමස්ත රටේම ජනතාවට අර පොඩි උන් රවට්ටනවා වගේ සීනි බෝල ලබා දීලා
They are trying to deceive the population by giving them candy. The budget 2015 is the only mental satisfaction and nothing else. No one has been able to satisfy a fraction of the people's needs.
කිසිම කෙනෙකුට ලබා දෙන්න අසමත් වෙලා තියෙනවා.
පඩි වැඩිවීමක් ලබා ගත්තාම මාස 6ක් විතර යනකොට ඒ පඩි වැඩි
We receive a salary increment, but that increment becomes redundant 6 months down the line due to the increase in the prices of various commodities. Therefore, our stand is that if for the cost of living is to reduce, the general price of goods should also reduce. So we are happy that the government is showing an inclination towards this concept. Don't think that the cost of living problem is totally addressed because of this. But this is a start. We also need to say that we have not received everything that we asked for from the government in this budget.
දීවර ජනතාව විසින් යොමු කළ කිසිදු යෝජනාවක්
Not a single proposal put forward by the fishing community has been included in this budget. It is only 0.3% of the budget that has been allocated for them. This budget is a farce.
ඩෝන් හඬාවා පාට පාට එළිය දැක්කා ඒ සූ හඬයි ඩෝන් හඬයි පාට පාට එළියයි දකින්නකොට තප්පුලැම්ම ඔල්වරසන් දුන්නා
2015 අයවැය තුලිත අයවැයක් එක පැත්තකින් දිගු කාලන
The 2015 budget is a balanced budget. On one side, steps are being taken to achieve long-term development goals. On the other side, programs have been implemented for the well-being of the people. If anyone challenges this budget in any manner, saying that it's a bag of goods, a bag of bribes that have been given keeping an election in mind, or that it is a budget centered around political motives, I completely disagree. In this region, the reason why Sri Lanka has always fallen behind is because the budget has always been aligned with the various political motives.
ඉදිරියෙන් ඉඳලා පිටිපස්සට වැටෙන්න හේතුව උනේ අපි අයවැය හුදු දේශපාලන ඕනෑපාකම් වෙනුවෙන් ඉදිරිපත් කරපු නිසා.
Early in sports, it's cricket at lunch on the fourth and final day of the third unofficial test between the Sri Lankan and West Indies A squads in Moratuwa. Sri Lanka were on 26 for 2 in their second innings, requiring a further 192 runs to win with 8 wickets remaining. West Indies began the day on 187 for 3 in their second innings, but capitulated in the morning session, losing their final 6 wickets for just 17 runs. The collapse undid all the good work by Jonathan Carter and Andrew Fletcher, who put on 120 for the 4th wicket. For the hosts, Chaturanga De Silva with figures of 4 for 57 and Tharun Kaushal with figures of 5 for 78 did the damage. Picking up all the 7 wickets this morning, Sri Lanka chasing 218 lost Upul Tharanga and Kaushal Pereira, cheaply leaving Lahiru Thiramana and Dinesh Chandimal at the crease as the teams headed off for the lunch interval.